materials development subject, and today's subject is going to be factors to consider developing adult English as a foreign language student speaking abilities by Kang Shumin. So let's start. Just quick introduction. To be able to learn one language, it doesn't mean that we have to be able to know the grammatical or semantic rules of this language only, but we need to speak that language to be able to achieve proficiency in that language almost as native like speakers of this language. And that's what we can achieve by doing structured interpersonal exchange. So there are some factors that affect adult learners' oral communication, which are components underlying or referring to speaking, leading or, to speaking proficiency, and specific strategies that usually used to be able to achieve this communication. Just a minute. So speaking language is difficult for foreign language learners as effective oral communications requires most of the time. One, the ability to use the language appropriately in social interactions, to be able to have diversity interactions involving not only verbal communication, but also paralinguistic elements of speech, like pitch, stress, and intonation, and non-linguistic elements, like gestures, body language, facial expressions. So to be able to speak a language, you need to practice it, and to practice it in social interactions. And usually that most of the time, if you are learning the language outside of the context of this language, it's going to be very hard because maybe you don't have a context in which you practice. Unlike a person who travels abroad to study one language, for example, to travel to UK to study English, he's going to have the social interaction, the environment. He'll be able to master and practice like paralinguistic elements like pitch, stress, intonation, and most of the time these elements explained helps the person or the speakers be able to sound like a native speaker of the language. Okay, next slide. So factors affecting adult EFL learners' oral communication. There is a general impression that learners of one language can improve their speaking abilities by only having some topics to discuss without considering the real factors. There are some real factors that affect the process of their speaking abilities. So what are the factors affecting the speaking abilities? First, age. And in second language acquisition class, we studied about the critical hypothesis period. I think most of us already know that assume that students or learners usually, when exceeding a specific age, they won't be able to learn as much as, for example, children. So age is one of the decisive elements in deciding whether you're going to be failure or you're going to be success in learning or mastering one language and achieving a native-like proficiency. Many studies prove that learners after passing a specific age are very hard to be able to speak or achieve a native-like fluency in a language that they are learning. According to Yama's studies in 1976, adults fail to achieve native-like proficiency. The witness, I like that expression, that's why I highlighted fossilization. Like the learning process gets petrified for them. They don't have the ability to learn more. Even if they work harder, then they achieve kind of a level that is not like a native like. And by the way, I don't agree with that because me myself, I'm a learner of many languages, and I don't believe. I believe I agree with it to some extent, but I think yeah, it depends on the nature of the learner. It makes the difference. But still, many studies prove that children can achieve native-like fluency much better than adult learners. As he explained that the adult learners witness fossilization or petrification, the learning process gets petrified or stop at one stage. The second one is oral medium. Listening plays a double important role in the process of foreign language acquisition. If you are learning one language, you need to listen first. And for me, for example, when I was learning, I believe that you have to be a passive learner by listening for a very long time. Then you start producing. So listening, because listening, as they say, speaking feeds on listening. And listening is a basic mechanism for mastering one language. If you can't listen, you won't be able to speak. So you need to listen first. The learners need to listen, keep what they heard in memory, integrate it with what the context, and respond accordingly. So the third one is sociocultural factors. Language is a form of social interaction, and meaning is socially regulated based on the shared values of one society. This is what we call by the social context. Example for that, for example, this is mentioned in the article. Uh, if you're saying a compliment to one of the Chinese persons, according to their culture, they should be rejecting that. They should say no. If you're saying you are very nice, you're very beautiful, they're supposed to say no. They're doing that, they reject your compliment to show modesty. But in other cultures, it's not the same. They're supposed to be responding to that and saying thank you, uh, or for example, like replying to your compliment by something nicer. Um, Sometimes oral communication contradicts the real message intended to be delivered, and we can see that, for example, by a group of friends, that some of them are Chinese students, and some of them happen to say, how about we meet for lunch some other time? And then the first thing that Chinese student is going to be doing, he's going to check his calendar to check a meeting for that, and he would be shocked to see that there's no reaction at all, because when the person who said that, who said or made the invitation, wasn't serious about it. And this is one of the examples about contradiction of oral communications with the message that needs to be delivered. Affective factors, by that we mean emotions. Like according to Oxford 1990, the affective side of the learner is probably one of the most important influences on language learning process. So, for example, if you're learning one language, are you easily distracted? Maybe do you have a high level of anxiety, self-esteem? So you are worried to speak in public. For example, if you're making mistakes, you are so worried. You're being worried to be judged by others in public. So, do you think the same applied to children? According to the writer of the article, he doesn't think that the same applies to children. By the way, I don't know, but for me, I think that children even suffer from high level of anxiety. It differs from one children to a child to another, of course. But I think, yeah, it's not the same like adult, because adult has very high self-esteem, so they are very worried to make mistakes in public. So components underlying speaking effectiveness. Language proficiency is not unidimensional, but a multifaceted modality. It's not just one aspect, but there are many levels that should be considered. According to Caraskello, 1994, page 65. According to Heinz, he assumed that learners of second language need to know not only the linguistic knowledge, but also the culturally acceptable ways of interacting with others in different situations. And Heinz is the one who introduced the theory of communicative competences, which we're going to be discussing in detail now. The first one is grammatical competence, and that mainly focuses on morphology and syntax. For example, to be able to have one language segmented or dismantled into words and sentences, and to know how they get dismantled, and to know how to be able to make them again, to put them together again. So to be able to understand the units. So if you understand the units from which that sentence consisting words, then you'll be able to create them and manipulate the language creatively. So to be able to know the mechanics of one language, sounds, intonation, pitch, and stress, and all of these elements take a great deal in making a learner sound like a native speaker of one language. Discourse competence. By discourse competence is mainly concerned by cohesion. So, for example, if you're speaking, your speaking should be coherent, should be cohesive, and you should be achieving a meaningful conversation or a discourse. And by having discourse competence, it means that you'll be able to provide various representations of the meaning that you want to deliver, and to have a large repertoire. I think the word is mainly from French language. I don't know how to say it. like to have like storage in your mind of structures, expressions, and discourse markers that would be able to make you conduct language smoothly and to be able to hold conversations. Um, and some of the elements that can help you to do that is to know the relations of time, cause, contrast, and emphasis. Like, for example, if you're saying the fillers of the language that helps you to conduct conversations. So, for example, therefore, and on the other hand, and to emphasize something by saying, I'm telling you, I'm confirming to you, something like that. So, sociolinguistic competence, by this kind of competence, you should be able, you should know what's expected from the other speakers, the speakers of the target language, socially and culturally. So, to master the norms and regulations of one language, like the shared values, to know the right timing and speech acts of this language, to know what comments can be given and what can be avoided, to be able easily to say that simply you'll be able to encode and decode, to be able to know the mysteries of one language and to be able to decipher them or encode and decode them. Strategic competence, by this we mean simply to be able to manipulate the language, that you reach a level that you can manipulate language to meet communicative goals. So by that we mean that the learner can know when to start a conversation, how to end a conversation. For example, if there is a miscommunication in discourse, how to end or clear this miscommunication. Interaction as the key. So what are the key to be able to achieve speaking abilities almost like native speakers, to depend on authentic materials. For example, if you are learners, to help you, if you are an instructor or teacher, to help your learners to be able to manipulate the language and practice some features or characteristics of the language, to make the learners able to practice communicative skills that's required for them to cope with the environment around them. And then that's going to be able to activate the learning process for those learners in a psycholinguistic way. So we can achieve that by having oral activities. For example, you can make your learners listen to tape dialogues, listening to short passages, jigsaw listening techniques. And if you don't know what does that mean, I mean, my friends, of course, for example, to make them listen to different, for example, if you have a story, then you make them listen, each of your learners, to a part of that story, but not in order. Then you make them cooperate to make it into one in a story, a complete integrated one together by working together. So visual and oral activities like watching movies, videotapes, soap operas, and dramas. These materials can help the students because it's going to be interesting for them, for example, to watch dramas and have them exposed to a variety of accents, rhymes, and intonations, make the learners know how to use language in different contexts. I give example to that by me when I was in Indonesia. I was watching Antv most of the time, watching Hindi dramas that's dubbed Indonesian because it was so had many different contexts. So it was very interesting for me to learn the language. It was very interesting because I watched dramas, different situations, and it would help me to master the language much easier than the traditional ways. So material aided on oral activities, some of that would be storytelling. Storytelling is one of the interesting aspects that would help learners to learn one language. For the learner to be able to provide appropriate reading and comprehension materials that would consider cultural aspects. For example, hotel brochures, menus, and wide range of materials that are taken from different sources for them to be exposed to different contexts and different materials, and to be able to expose to different contexts. What are they going to do in that situation? If they're going to doctor, if they're going to restaurant, like different situations and how to handle them. So culture awareness, the teacher can raise the culture awareness for the students by providing some situations in which cultural misunderstanding happens and make the students be able to understand why the misunderstanding happens by analyzing the situation and know the main reason behind that cultural miscommunication and what are they supposed to do for example, to avoid that to happen from happening in the real life. So that was the journal, and I hope I explained it very well. I hope I didn't uh, um, speak as much as I do, but the journal was just 8 pages. I tried to make it as simple as I could by adding, by writing it my own words and giving examples from my own experience, and that was it. Thank you so much.
Okay, Han, thank you very
Yes,
much.
most
Yeah,
welcome.
so yeah, I will give my comment to your
Yes.
presentation. So my first comment is like I like the template of this presentation. Very simple, like blue on the top, and I think gray below. Very contrast. Font size is also quite big, so they are quite visible. And then I really like the first slide that you highlighted. The some important words that you want audience to focus to. But unfortunately, this is not consistent. So in many slides, I still see like full sentences not highlighted. So reasons is why I'm suggesting these techniques to you and other students using keywords, or if you prefer to use full sentences, highlight the words or the keywords or key phrases, is that to make it more comfortable for the audience to see or to listen to your presentation. So when you are writing in full sentence and you're also speaking, so readers have to divide their attention. Either they're listening to you, yeah, or they read the slides. Okay, so this is actually very common. We do two things at the same time. However, if you put more sentence, if you put full sentences instead of keywords, or if you don't highlight the keywords or key phrases, then they are going to tend to read the full sentences. Okay, and yeah, it's going to be really difficult. Even in some presentations, they have really minimum keywords, like I don't know, less than, I think there's a standard, like if you want to make a good presentation, like one slide should consist less than 20 words. I heard that, but I'm not sure where did I heard it. But yeah, the person told me that, okay, so 20 words max. But the number is not the argument. So the argument is that here you want the readers to be engaged with your presentation, with your voice, with your slide. And if you put full sentences, their attention is going to be divided. That's it. So, and for the content of the presentation, I think no, you are not over the time, so this is good. Actually, you still have, I think 5 to 7 minutes left. So yeah, that's a good thing. And then for this paper, I think it is quite safe to present the way it is, to present sections by sections. As compared to other papers, I would say that this paper is quote unquote easy. Okay, the language is easy, and also the language and then the topic is also quite familiar. Now let's take one step further. Let's try to discuss about this paper. So if I have to summarize, if I have to start with, I think it is important to start with the concept of native speaker, because this is a word that is repeated over and over in this presentation. Because I understand, because the author make references to some linguist who proposes like a hypothesis about second language acquisition and native speakerism. So if you want to be critical, we need to define like what is native speaker of a language? Yeah, who is a native speaker of a language? If I were raised in the UK, yeah, if I were no, let's do the other way around. If an American is raised in Indonesia, okay, and his first language is English, but influenced by Indonesian, and he or she does not speak like American native speaker who acquired English in America, in the United States of America, then he would still be regarded as native speaker. If you are born in Singapore and your first language is English, The English will not be the same like the English used in UK. But we can still argue that they are native speakers of English. Okay, it's the same. Like for example, I'm not an Arabic, so but if I'm Indonesian and my first language is Arabic, yeah, from my father and my mother, even though they are not native speaker of Arabic, that's possible. Okay, so there are a lot of, not a lot. I have to refer to a formal study, one or more formal studies, but unfortunately, this is just my observation. So many rich people, and I would not say many, like a number or some rich people in Indonesia, even though their native language is Indonesian, yeah, they want the first language of their kids to be English. Okay, so since the first time the kid was born, they speak English. They speak English, and the kid's first language is English, but the English is not the same like the English in UK, the English in Australia, or in United States of America. But still, that kid, yeah, can be seen as a native speaker of English. Okay, so that's a debate that I want to present to you, and yeah, please do think about it. It has nothing to do with this article. I'm just saying this because we see a lot of this terminology in the paper, and also there is a terminology of fossilization that at some point of time in your age it will be difficult to change your pronunciation, stress that you will not be as proficient as native speaker. Again, I use the term native speaker here loosely. Yeah, but yeah, it sometimes it depends individually. So there are some theory that believe in individual differences, and the fossilization theory is only a generalization. But in individual cases, of course, it is still possible, like even though you're adult, that you can achieve a native-like proficiency in speaking. Yeah, that's possible, but maybe statistically speaking, not very significant numbers. And also, uh, the author here use a lot of terminologies, which I think I can summarize. Yeah, I want to summarize into two, uh, which is linguistic competence and communicative competence. So linguistic competence is like when you're acquiring the semantic, the grammar, pronunciation correctly, and communicative competence is like when you're using the language pragmatically correct. So Han actually highlighted this. I think a Chinese student learning English, it's about something. If you can pinpoint me to the slide, hand about taking compliments, and he or she said no. I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
So in
sorry.
the paper, let me see if I can find it quickly in the paper. I need to open it first, but maybe hand is quicker. Hang on, hang on.
Yes, under sociocultural
Yeah,
factors.
yeah, this one, Chinese rejecting compliment to show
Yes,
modesty. Well, actually, it is almost the same like Indonesian. For example, if I told you you're really beautiful or you're really handsome, and then you say, oh no, not really handsome, not like a movie star. So you rejected you rejected that compliment.
yes,
Uh, while while in different culture, if someone gave you a compliment, you say, oh, thank you very much. Like say, I get a very good grade in my class, and someone compliment, oh, congratulations. And I would say, oh, thank you, I worked hard for this. But if you say that in different community of different culture, if you say that, maybe you will be considered too proud of yourself. Yeah, maybe you will be considered a smart ass. But again, but this is a communicative competence. It has nothing to do with linguistic competence. So if you see, the author used a lot of different terminologies. So he used sociolinguistic competence on one hand, but he also used strategic competence and also I think communicative competence on the other hand. Yeah, but for me, I can just to make it easier to digest, I would divide it into two: linguistic competence and communicative competence. And I think one that is in the context of materials development, one that has not been practiced is on the discourse competence. So this is highlighted by the author. So the discourse competence. I'm not sure why. I think because most teachers, they focus on grammatical competence and vocabulary acquisitions. So discourse competence is neglected. But yeah, this is understandable because it might differ from one culture to another. For example, when you are requesting something, when you this one, to have a large repertoire of structure, expression, discourse, markers, relationship of time, cause, contrast, and emphasize. Okay, so like imagine like you were raised in one variety of English, and then you are measured on different variety of English. Then what is considered normal in your discourse is not necessarily normal in different community. So let me give you an example. Actually, it's from translation class. If you remember, I cannot recall it correctly. I need to go have a look at the book. I think it's about Arabic. Okay, it is common to repeat things over and over to make it clear. Okay, but if you do this in English, that would be weird. Okay, but perhaps in some variety of English, it is acceptable to use some sort of repetition. And also, for example, this time is not discourse competence. Let's have a look at the linguistic competence. Pronunciation, for example. I met some New Zealanders, and when they say number 7, they didn't mention it like 7, but they use 7. Okay. So imagine that you don't look at their face. Okay. So you change the face with the face of, I don't know, African, Arabic, Indonesian, and then you present this video to someone, and then you ask them, is this person a native speaker of English? So perhaps the answer is no. Okay. But when I was talking to them, yeah, and they claim that they are New Zealander, they're actually professors. And I see their face, they look Caucasian to me. Yeah, so I tolerate that. But some people don't tolerate that when the same pronunciation come out from people who visually don't look like native speakers. So here is the use of paralinguistic elements. I think it is highlighted in one of Hans slides, which I cannot find here. Yeah, gesture here. Okay, so gesture like visual signs. This is what is lacking, I think, in the materials of language teaching. But in the past, this is understandable because we rely on printed materials. Okay, we rely on printed materials. But today, I think it is less relevant because we have more access to English exposures. Like I can listen to BBC radio. I can watch news from Fox News or CNN in the United States of America, even though I'm here in Indonesia. So yeah, that challenge has been less challenging now as compared to the past. Yeah, and one interesting thing that Han mentioned is like Han studied Indonesian from Hindi drama dubbed in Indonesian. Was that correct, Han?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually quite funny that you
Yes,
study
actually.
Indonesian on dubbing, yeah. But I
Yes,
now that you mention about it, I can understand, because Han, if you're listening to native Indonesian drama, maybe they speak too fast, okay? But when you dub, okay, you want to make sure that it's easy to digest, and you tend to simplify the language so that it is understandable. Yeah, because I noticed some dramas, not dramas, but movies that have been dubbed. We need to do more research on this. The rate of speech is slower. So, for
yes,
example, in native Indonesian drama, like in 1 minute, the person can say, I don't know, like maybe 40 words, but if it's dubbed, maybe only like 20 to 30 words. So yeah, and that's a new technique. I think maybe it's useful if I study another
yes, but
language.
actually, it's not about. Actually, I don't like Indonesian drama, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
But
that's
now,
about that's about another thing. That's about the
yes,
social communicative
I do
factor
like
that you
it.
don't like it. Mm.
But to be honest, yeah, it's really, as you mentioned, but it's faster. When I was first learning, it was kind of faster for me, and most terminologies I didn't get them. But when I was listening to dubbed drama, everything is clear. But now, Alhamdulillah, I can understand both. But still, I enjoy it more when I watch dubbed drama. I don't
Mm.
know why.
Yeah.
It's a
Uh,
certain.
yeah, it is interesting to research, because if you watch native Indonesian drama, perhaps, so they don't always talk in standard Indonesian. They talk in
Yes,
colloquial Indonesian, and the degree of differences in the discrepancy between standard Indonesian and colloquial Indonesian is very high. It's not like standard English and colloquial English. So there is a very high degree of discrepancy between Indonesian, standard Indonesian, and colloquial Indonesian. So I think that's one of the reasons why it is quite difficult. A lot of colloquial terms that maybe is quite strange too for me, if I'm not really up to date to the terminologies or colloquial terminologies. So maybe that's one of the reasons. Of course, we need to research more about this. Yeah. So that's it, I think. Any questions for Hand about this presentation or about this paper? Yeah, while waiting for the question, I will do the attendance list. I will mark everyone in. Yeah, everyone is in, I think. So yeah, I will just mark you in. If you please stand by.
but sorry, just
Inisias,
want to see
Ibaras,
that
hang on,
you
hang on.
didn't upload
Nurul,
the week. I'm
Francisca. Okay, that's it. Okay, say again, Hand.
sorry, but sorry for interruption, but just wanted to upload the material for today's presentation,
Mhm.
but you didn't add today's, session, so I didn't find place to add today's presentation.
Meeting 15, huh? Are you
Yes,
sure? Let,
yes,
let me check.
it's day 28. Yes, correct me if I'm mistaken, because I found the last one on the materials development 20th of May, so today is 28. So. Uh, Please check
Oh,
if
Hand,
I need to add it to other file. Just let me know because I tried to find it. I didn't find it.
Hand, upload to meeting 15.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay, then.
upload to meeting 15, because that's today's presentation. Okay,
Okay.
because last week was meeting 14, today's meeting 15. Yeah, meeting 15 is for the final term works.
Okay, Bob.
Any more question?
Can I
Uh,
stop sharing?
Say again,
Can I
Hand?
can I stop sharing my
Yeah,
screen?
yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if there is no question, I would. Yeah, I have already announced this, but the link to submit the final term works is available in Google Classroom, in the About document, and also in Meeting 16. And also, I will just share my screen. And I think I have mentioned this in our translation class. There you go, everyone is in. Yeah, so Thursday, 16th of June, 2022. This will be the date for the schedule for our final term exam. Yeah, pengembangan bahasa material development. But you are allowed to submit your works earlier than this. In fact, I do suggest you not to submit very, very closely, like near the end of the end of this final exam. Okay, because there might be some issues with internet connection, etc. And if you don't see the barcode, yeah, just please let me know, or Budeli know, okay? And we will check on here, because on this day I'm going to give a presentation to Indonesian Language Center. I was invited to train young linguists there about corporate linguistics. But yeah, I think I can make time just to share the barcode. Yeah, it's no problem. But if you don't, yeah, do let me know. Okay. Right. No question about this. Yeah, I have put the announcements as well here. I will stop recording anyway. Yeah, Han, do you have any question?
Yes, yes. I need to ask you about the final exam.